We good? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item on the agenda is 3A, public comment. No public comment tonight?
I do have a
Oh,
public
okay, all right.
Okay, so this is the beginning of my 26th year, and I just want to say that this has been the best Superintendent's Day I've ever had here. It was full of energy, it was full of enthusiasm, information. Mrs. Glavin gave us information, but in a fun, connected way. I got to speak and connect with teachers from Townsend, which is usually, I never have the opportunity to do that. And she got us up and out of our seats, and it was just a positive, very positive experience and such a cool way to kick off the new beginning of the school year. So kudos to you. You did a great job. Thank you.
I did not pay her, I promise.
Very much appreciated by the
Thank you so
teachers
much.
to have a fun and engaging Superintendent's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Did it have something to do with the ice cream scooping?
Bribed her with ice cream.
I bribed her.
Okay, no further comment. We'll move on to our discussion items for A. So last week we conducted our annual building walkthrough. Does anybody want to give a report out? Any summary observations?
They had a lot of work to still do when we were here. So hopefully they got it all done, but it was looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think the buildings were looking good. It was nice to see Townsend in a non-constructed state,
Yeah.
so that was good to see. I don't
Yeah, they
think
had,
there's-
I mean, I thought they were way ahead of schedule as far as you haven't seen in years past, but
Right, I've
what
never
we've
seen it,
seen in
so-
years past, I mean, we've seen upside down tomato soup cans trying to get together within a couple weeks,
Yeah.
especially Townsend, so it was nice that wasn't under construction.
Especially with throwing the lockers and
Yeah.
the cell phone lockers at them and having to change that walls for them to get that done was pretty impressive, actually.
And a lot of things that we've had to follow up year after year after year, replacing tiles and all the stuff that normally comes on a yearly basis. We didn't have any of that this year.
Yep.
So, definitely progress. You could definitely see progress year to year.
Yep.
So it was a lot of work to do, but they always pull it off. They do a great job.
Yeah, the cell lockers were a little concerning, the ones in the middle school. They looked kind of cheap and looked like they're gonna be broken quite frequently.
Yeah, I have that similar concern. I think some were already broken
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
on shipping, but
But they assured us that they still have COVID plastic from COVID, where if we need be, we can construct new doors on
Mhm.
site and replace them.
I just think
So
there's gonna
that's
be a
what-
lot of broken ones.
Yeah.
it's something we're gonna have to definitely adapt to. We'll learn as we go through it.
Mhm.
But. Any other comments on the walkthrough?
Nope.
All right, the facilities committee met on August 26th. Does somebody want to report out on the meeting?
I'll kick off. You guys want me to?
Yeah.
So one of the things we've been talking about for a long period of time with facilities is the next capital project, and we really had a lot on the plate for the next capital project. I mean, if you had to move the bus garage because of the expansion of buses as far as electrification of buses, and you had to raise the roof, we'd be doing more than 51% of the cost to replace the roof and things like that for value of the building. So we had to bring it up to all our current flood laws, a lot of stuff. So we talked about, is there a relocation option of that? Well, that relocation, if we added all of our projects together, was over 24 million. So we were kind of looking at that and saying, honestly, we need to take a better, more refined look at what projects and what priorities we move forward, especially if we don't get outside funding for them. If we get full outside funding for a project that scale, then we would go full steam ahead. We transitioned into the grant that we received. We received that $10,000 from the Catskill Watershed Corporation. I dropped that packet off to Kevin just now to review. That's a contract to do the feasibility analysis on if we did want to move the bus garage, where would it go, what costs would be incurred, how would we find those outside funding, things like that. So we're going to go through that in detail. The priority from the committee really was focus hard on where's the outside funding going to come from. If it's a slam dunk that there is a lot of outside funding to be able to throw at this, then it's going to move it up in the priority. If there's not, the availability to do that project with everything else we have to do right now for the rest of our facilities, it would lessen the chances of getting that done. We could do it. It would impact our tax base. We would end up pulling either taxpayers' dollars to make that happen, or it would push out your next capital project into like the 2040 year range. None of us were comfortable with any of that. So we actually took a step back and said, is there a smaller project that we could do? Because we do have our capital construction restricted fund balance now. And remember, that's the 14% against the 86% of the state, right? So for every dollar we spend there, we get $86 in return. So we can do probably a $2 or $3 million project. I'm throwing that number out there. It's probably not accurate, but you can do a pretty large project with what we have without any impact to tax base, because we've already saved that. It's already in a capital account ready for that. So then we'll focus on what are our main priorities right now. If we have to do a smaller project to be able to sustain that, what is it? Because we really don't want to push our next capital project that far down the road and have 15 years of no construction. If things pop up, we didn't want to do that. So that's where we're kind of focused on right this second. And we're going to ask CWC to work very closely with us. Right now, we have a meeting we're going to try to schedule at 5 o'clock before our next board meeting on the 16th, even if it's a quick Zoom call, to see what our options are to kind of really beat the bushes on where is the funding coming from and is it available? And if it's not, then I'm afraid we're going to have to default to a different type of project and start looking at some of the smaller stuff. When I say smaller stuff, you're still in that $7-8 million range. So still big projects, but I don't know, for the committee felt like we don't want to impact our tax base, being that, you know, our budget this year, we closed 300 and some $1,000, right, behind, so we're not balanced. So we don't want to force another issue on top of that and confuse everything. So we said, let's take a step back and let's do what we can afford and make it more sustainable for the school, pick our priorities and go forward. That's kind of a highlight with it. I mean, we talked about the solar as well.
Checking the roof, getting the roofs checked out. We're going to do any.
Roof status.
All the roof status is at one shot.
Is the roof related to the solar, or that was
Well,
just in
that's
general
on-
anyways?
That's on the agenda for those scans.
Okay.
So those thermal scans with a drone are high image to say what condition is your roof in. But I think we all agreed that we didn't want to, we're not going to put photovoltaic cells on a membrane that's going to be out of warranty in 3 years. It's either got to be on brand new roofing with a 25-year warranty, which matches our warranty of the solar project, or hold off, do the roof first, because it's half the total cost to take off the solar project to repair the roof and then have it reinstalled. That makes no sense. So we definitely didn't want to do that. Those scans are a critical piece to know where your roofs are at.
And it was cheaper to do all the scans at one shot than to do high school now and then Townsend later. And so might as well just do them all at once, save the money up front instead of spending more later.
There was a concern that, you know, Townsend is newer, new roofs are newer, that was an additional $900. But if we were to do it independently, it was a lot more.
Yeah.
So if we had something, but my thought process is that we have some roof structures that seem to have issues when we did the walkthrough. But with these scans, we may be able to take some of that data and go back to these roofing companies that did it and say, hey, why is this like this after you just did it and we're still in warranty? Can you address this now before we're out of warranty? That's what really struck me, is if we're under warranty and we can detect issues, let's get it addressed now while it's on their dime, not ours.
So that's kind of where we landed with most of those. I know we were pushing full steam ahead with what's our project schedule, when's our next vote going to be for our next capital project, and we're really on a time frame that's condensing pretty quickly to make a decision on that. I think what we're working on now is if we have to make a decision on making sure we don't have rain coming through buildings and parking lot, like our core stuff that needs to be done, it's going to be a smaller project, and we'll probably recommend that at a later date. But right now, we're going to get all of our ducks in a row with the CWC and FEMA funding, any funding possible for that bus garage. And if none of that pans out, or only partially, and it doesn't make us whole, then we're going to have to put it off, because we just can't.
We don't want that burden. We don't want to bear that burden on the taxpayers, as heavy as it's going to be. Even looking at what they warrant the loan formulations and taking them out. So far, I personally wouldn't want that burden on the taxpayers that long.
Yeah, I pulled the numbers up. It was 24.9 million to do the bus garage in Townsend, and some work at the junior, senior high school. If we did that, out through there, it would kick our next capital project out to 43, 44. And I don't think you could strap the community with that long without doing projects. If you did do that, same scenario, and you wanted to pull in dollars, you would have to have 5.9 million for our local funds to offset the state funds in order to make that whole without having that same time frame shift. And that would still move your next capital project to 30, 31. So we're not ready. We need to come up with some better solutions and reprioritize what we can do with the money we have.
I think there were concerns that we're completely tabling the idea of the bus garage, and I don't feel that's what we're doing. It's just that we wanna make sure that we make it economically feasible for everyone in our community. We realize there's restrictions in why we have to do what we need to do to fit new electric buses if we do that. We're gonna have to spend some money.
The bus garage needs to be moved and replaced anyway down the road. If we can let it stretch another 2 or 3 years, keep putting Band-Aids on it to get it through until we can afford it, that's better for the taxpayers than it is to just try to do it now and force it.
I would love to have a new bus garage today, but I don't wanna burden our community.
So if everybody's okay with that, that's the general consensus. That's what we'll take back as a committee. I think we're in full agreement, but we want to make sure it was important enough to put it in front of the full board to have that discussion, if that's the right train of thought or not with us.
Because there were some structural things that we need to address at the middle school, high school that were, like you said, they're still in the millions, but they're enough that we can cover them without impacting the tax, and I think that's critical.
So the table of the project scenarios here, this is basically what you guys were presented.
Yep.
That scenario C, wasn't really understanding that. Is it just a summary line, or is that actually a separate scenario that?
Those are summary lines, and that would be the tax impact per what they're broke down as 100,000 full value. They kind of give you what the annual tax impact would be, but 1% of our tax is about 74,000.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just no way there's no scenario that you can tax the local share to make those numbers whole. You can't come up with big enough numbers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking 25, 26%, like it's never gonna happen. It's not even possible. So, but that's all those bottom ones were, is just the aidable scope, over that 15 years.
In the planning timeline, that's the proposed timeline before the best case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had that timeline going into that meeting.
Okay.
We did not reproduce one coming out of that meeting yet.
Then we figure we're gonna keep that timeline now, get CWC in beforehand,
Yeah.
see if there is the funding, see if there are options for us, and then we can go from there. If we have to adjust, we'll pivot and adjust from there.
And we're trying to fast track that. That's why we're trying to call for a meeting on the 16th prior to this meeting with facilities, at least a Zoom call to say, what is the availability to change the scope of that to have more of a funding base. So we have real answers to bring back to this board and say, we clearly have to go one way or the other.
And if it is smaller projects or different projects, have you guys already prioritized what those would be?
So our facilities over the last few years have prioritized, but again, for everybody's information, our priority ones in the district are 60.8 million.
Right.
Those are priority ones. Those have already been in our 5-year analysis. We do that 5-year update every 5 years, obviously. That 5-year analysis, that was your priority ones. That Townsend Elementary in there, for example, and here we're talking, your elevators, they're critical replacement. They have to be replaced. There's a lot of critical things. So priority ones, I'm just saying, like, we have a lot of them in this district, and we did a lot of analysis on these for the last 3-4 years, and they're legit priority ones. They're real needs. They're not a wish list. It's what it is.
Yep.
Just for my benefit, because I know I missed that meeting, historically looking at why the bus garage was a major project to move forward. Repairs, I know I went down and visited some things, floodplain, all these things. Was that the basis of making that a major move forward now?
We were literally wanted to just put a new roof on it, upgrade everything, bring everything up to spec, redo the parking lots, fix it right in place the way it is. 2 things fought us on that. One was the state came down and said, you're gonna electrify all your buses.
Right.
Electric buses will not fit in that building. You're gonna have to raise the roof in order to do that. And then your flood laws kick in if you replace or touch more than 51% of your total value of that structure. We can't get out of that. That's not anything we can do locally to sidestep those. So the state has put you in a position where you have to change the bus garage to fit your buses, and you have to adhere to your local flood laws. So they've painted a picture that we can't get out of, so we're trying to work the angle of, give us the FEMA dollars then. Other schools have done that. They're gonna reach out, I believe Meg's gonna reach out to some of the other schools
Yeah,
that
'cause
have
that's what we
used
talked about.
successfully those FEMA dollars to
Yeah.
be able to do that.
We go-
Because-
we go after-
Yeah, we go after.
Because there's other schools that have done that, yeah.
Because they painted
Maximize
us
their
in this
FEMA.
corner that we can't get out of, right?
Okay.
Normally, we just put a new roof on it and be, okay, we're in good shape, we can move on. That structure, the way it sits right now, from everything, if we follow all state guidelines, we can't do that.
And do we really wanna put electrified charging stations and all that in a floodway?
No,
Floodway.
well, that was
The
why
floodway,
my
yeah.
concern was pushing forward towards that, but yeah, we'll definitely have to look into the FEMA,
And
what
we
other
have,
schools have done, so.
that area has seen water, so many times, unfortunately.
I mean, this
That's-
was last high water, obviously.
Yep.
We got a call at home and said, hey, can you go check to make sure the buses are okay, cause.
And it's not just a
John was
100-year
out of town.
event.
No, it wasn't.
That
I just went down to
floodplain,
make sure it wasn't a flood.
yeah,
wall,
that
'cause I was
floodplain
wrong.
ice jams, we've cleared ice jams on that in the last 5 years, twice. I mean, with local DOT with excavators, I mean, it's just a bad area.
It's a risk.
And I wouldn't throw 20 chargers in there,
No way.
electrification, come
There goes
on.
our power.
It just doesn't even,
That blows the entire grid.
so, anyway, that's
All
the,
right.
that's the
Yeah,
backstory.
because I had to talk to John a
Yep.
little bit about it, I talked to Brad and Meg, and, yeah, being in the floodplain is not good, so.
Well,
I bet
that's what
lots
we're
of
looking
stuff.
to see if there's any relocation funding from the city.
Mhm.
That's
what-
exactly
the
what
FEMA
that
and
analysis
that's
is
the
gonna
FEMA
do.
and the-
That's what,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and we're trying to do that because CWC has been such a great partner, and we did all our parking lots and stuff like that, they were a big help. We took that all the way up through, and that could be used as our local cost share, and again, that local cost share is your biggest buying power. If FEMA comes in, you're not gonna get that same, it's just gonna be money, straight money off the top, which is more than welcome. You won't be able to match that with state dollars at that point, so it's a different scenario that Meg understands very well.
But hopefully we combine CWC and FEMA money together to make it
Yep.
doable.
Or, get to the state and say, what is our solution here? Both of these are your
You made this problem.
rules, like, what do you want us to do as a district?
Well, I was kind of wondering on the advocacy front, what conversations we need to have. I know Mike and I talked about this, and we had intended to meet with Peter Oberacker to discuss the issue
Yeah.
in detail. And I think that's something we should probably pursue as well.
The fact that the electric buses won't work up here for the most part, that's one of the biggest things, and to stop that mandate. I mean, if you give the option, maybe a credit to do it, but a mandate to do it, or not do them all, you can't.
I think that's what most of the schools are finding, even at the RSA, they did a presentation, that it will work in some components of some districts, but replace your entire fleet without having a diesel backup is not realistic.
To run a route and
So-
then make it back for a sports pickup, never do it. You'll
That's
have
what they
kids playing
showed.
games at 8, 9 o'clock at
I
night if you're
think-
lucky.
Cornell Cooperative Extension just finished their study, and they lost, 20% capacity because of cold weather?
That's half our
I
year.
mean,
Yeah,
that seemed like that was logical. Right up front, we were saying that was gonna be an issue in the Northeast, but
What did John say the cost of an electric bus was 500,000?
$500,000.
You could buy 5 diesel buses for the cost of 1 bus.
they're heavy and they get delivered by a diesel truck. So, yeah, they cost a lot more. But the one group that did the analytical study did show there are places that will be a positive, but it
Sure.
is not
Yeah.
going to always work. And he was saying they took some of those buses down to almost 1% before they were back at the spot, and then could not charge in time to go out on a sports run,
Yeah.
or if they were doing BOCES. So we were asking, a lot of people are probably trying to talk to the governor about, you need to, if you want us to do some, it can't be all. Like, you need to give us some flexibility if we have something where it works, but we still need the other ones.
Yeah,
So,
local town runs or BOCES run back and forth, but
Right, or I hate to be that one.
You got
but
some
what
routes that
happens
are
if
over
you're
an
not
hour.
compliant?
yes.
you got some roads that are almost an hour, an hour and a half.
Well, you've seen our budget. We don't have $8 million to spend on just buses.
No.
With no backup.
And that's the other
We just
thing,
don't have
that
it.
some districts are just behind in the fact that there's not been the support to
Don't have it.
purchase them. So,
I think that was all we hit on with facilities, right? That should be it.
Just a quick question, the estimating, there's a proposal in here for estimating for the bus garage. Was that something they've already completed that?
So they had
Or they
to,
went
they went up to SED and then came back down through, and they had to re-estimate, I believe, storage bays and
Yes.
those kind of things, so that's that
Okay.
additional work for that.
They had.
Yeah, because
they had
some
done
are
the
not state
original-
aidable, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done it.
One
in
number-
the storage bays as like, as if they had extra stuff in them rather than just being in, okay, this is my brain, but
Right.
instead of being like a pole barn like section without extra fluff and stuff, that's technical terms. But they were estimating them as fully functional spaces, not just as storage.
But I did talk to John, and he did say if there was a terrible storm or something was going wrong, he could probably cram all the buses in minus those additional 4 bays, which wouldn't be great. It's not an option for every night, but if it was a really bad thing. So we could potentially relook at that. That's why that was reworked. So.
Yep.
All right, thanks for the recap. Any further questions? All right, so a reminder that the next committee meeting will be in November.
No, the next
October?
meeting is gonna be
We're targeting,
We're
we're
gonna try
targeting
to go
the
before the
5th,
next meeting.
5 o'clock on the 16th,
The 16th.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Will somebody let me know when that needs to
Yeah.
be set?
Okay, thank
waiting
you.
for CWC.
And I think it's literally a half hour phone call.
Mhm.
Just want to make sure that Meg has the opportunity as well as the rest of us to have, just air out whatever we need to and ask questions on that grant, to steer them a little.
A reminder that the policy committee will meet on Wednesday, September 10th at 5 p.m. And the final discussion item is Ms. Glavin.
I'm just gonna put a bug in your ear. Mayor Bjorn reached out to me, bringing up some issues that have been seen with traffic, and not just up here at the middle school, high school, but also at Townsend. He has a meeting tonight with his board, and he wanted to make sure I was aware that there are some issues with crossing guards and traffic, obviously in multiple places with people trying to exit and also arrive. So I was made aware of some of the issues up here. We do have an SRO who can help support that. But the places where they're actually crossing into the road, we may do some adjusting with crossing guards. But one option that I said I would throw out for not just major discussion tonight, because he's having his meeting, is there was a talk about in front of Townsend on North Street, heading north, making it a one-way during drop-off in the morning and dismissal time. To get these buses in, not have two-way traffic for crossing guards, children safely being able to cross, and then them moving right along. So doing it just during a short block of time. That's not decided yet. That is just, we're all kind of throwing ideas out. So I said I would make sure you were aware, and that would be something that we would work with them to discuss. So you would have input as well.
Maybe his police force, when their staff should enforce that people are only supposed to park on one side of the street, which bottlenecks it and has for the last 20 years because they refuse to enforce the no parking, no standing, no stopping.
I do know they're painted no parking, but I know that when I came to visit that day, that was completely lined up on that side, and so was the
And
other
they start
side.
lining up at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah. So
Townsend has been a scary scenario for as long as I can remember.
If there is a medical emergency during pickup or drop off because of that illegal parking, I live in that neighborhood, I have legitimate concerns that emergency vehicles could get up through there. Do I know that our emergency services have alternate routes and have lived here and know that they know how to get around that? I do. But in those circumstances, they should be able to go the quickest, most direct to the scene.
And
And it's not
kids,
being supported.
child safety, I mean, there's so
Oh, yeah.
many cars that kids are in and out around, it's just scary, so we need to come up with solutions. The crossing guards are the village's responsibility, right?
yes, and there was some conversation about
Yep.
switching them around so they could
That's,
be
I mean,
more.
as far as I know, they're not really, we can give recommendations, but they're not our employees, they're not,
We talked
that's why we
about
have to
this.
work very, very good with
Right.
the village.
I know that all the other schools I've been at, and people are like, oh, you need a crossing guard. Schools we are not to hire crossing guards. That's always been a thing. The town or community can provide them. But he is willing to work with us. He wanted to make sure that I was talking to you. They were bringing it up tonight at their meeting, and so hopefully we can work forward on making it safe. I know at Franklin, there was a one-way section that happened. John Nolan and I spoke about that. And if there was any kind of move forward, it wouldn't be rushed. It would be lots of conversation, us having input, and also making sure it was communicated out to parents. So it's not the day you show up and all of a sudden you can't
There's
go
not
that
enough
way.
room in that front of that school to make a loop for drop off, is there?
That's
I
been looked
know.
at 1,000 times too.
don't
I
think it's
said
not
that to
deep
somebody.
enough.
Everything should be on the table when you're talking about child safety, but
Yeah.
that's all been looked at, and we're in the situation right now because it's not an easy solution.
Right, yeah,
Just
that
not.
just not, area's not big enough to make a loop.
Yeah, but
I looked at that, I was like, how could we
talked
pull
about-
in?
At one point, we were like, can we buy a house on Benton and make a direct connection right there? You know, when those houses got decimated after the last flood, seemed like it was easy to do, we couldn't pull it off. You know, I mean, if you could have your dedicated buses in that section, like, just, we've thought of a lot of different ways, I mean, it just,
And I think they've been trying to stagger drop-off, so not all the buses are going into that back parking lot at the same time as staff. But I'm not really sure what kind of feedback and how that actually has worked out. Because some of them we're supposed to drop here first instead of them all going there first and then coming here.
And that's John, I told Bjorn when I spoke to him on Friday, that it was important for me to be able to talk to John too about that. Time what kids would be on, how long they're waiting. I mean, he did share there was a very long wait time by the time they pick up and move around, and then the cars, and it's not safe with kids walking. And we know that's an issue out here. Came to my attention that there's issues out here even in the bus loop where cars are not allowed. So we did put that out. Cars, they're not to be dropping off kids in the bus lane. It's marked clearly, but that's a safety issue too because they're coming and walking across in front of buses and doing some different things. So we do have Mr. Beers, SRO. He can help support some of that on campus.
Yeah, but Townsend Street is getting really bad because they're double parking now.
That's what happened when I was there.
Yeah.
It was one path
Yeah,
through,
North
and
Street.
I was like, "That's too tight for a bus."
Yeah.
But they stop and drop kids off or have kids jump in the car while they're sitting
That's-
there
yeah.
in the drivable lane, and it's like,
Well, I know Bjorn did say he's like, I do have PD that I could, but it's not going to be something he could provide every day. So we can work together, I think, with them to come up with some solution that's going to be safer for our kids. Figured I would give you that heads up, and he's at his meeting tonight, so.
They had a big turnout tonight, the side of the street was full.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion items? Right. Item 5A, correspondence.
You have a couple of thank you notes from students who received awards.
Nice to see those notes. We appreciate those. 6A, any additions to the agenda?
We do not.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Would anybody like to pull an item for discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Graydon, second by Tammy. All those in favor, please indicate aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the item carries. New business 8A, we have approved the structural analysis proposal. Would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Jake,
Second.
second by Tammy. Any further comments or questions?
This is the structural analysis on all buildings to see if you ever could put solar on. We asked for that just so that it either ends the question or opens opportunities, so definitely needed.
All those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item carries. 8B, approve the roof scan proposal.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Tammy, second by Jake. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate aye.
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 Any opposed? Item carries. 8C, personnel appointments. Deborah Spicer, full-time food service helper.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Motion by Tammy,
No second.
second by Jake. Any comments, questions? All those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. On to 9A, the policy review. Allie, do you want to go through and read those?
Am I supposed to
Policy.
read the numbers? I skip it.
You can skip the numbers, that's fine. We'll just go with the titles.
Parent and family engagement, Title I, Parent and Family Engagement School Level Approach Exhibit. Title I, Parent and Family Engagement Student Academic Achievement School Parent Compact. Promotion, retention, and acceleration of students, student attendance, information and data privacy, security, breach and notification. Parents' Bill of Rights for Data Privacy and Security exhibit, Child Abuse in an Educational Setting, Confidential Report of Allegation Form exhibit, Child Abuse in an Educational Setting exhibit, Notice Reporting Requirements, and Disclosure of Wrongful Conduct, Whistleblower Policy.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, this is part of our annual policy review plan, so please review those at your convenience. And if anybody would like to discuss those, they could be brought up now, or we could, propose them as an addition to a future agenda. Any comments or questions on those at this point? Okay. 10A, supervisor remarks. None this meeting. We received our reports at the last meeting. Superintendent remarks, 10B. Ms.
I'll be
Glevin?
short. I'm going to reiterate what you said. It was a great day, not just because of me, because of everybody that was here, the engagement that was there. I appreciate the board members that were able to come. We were able to celebrate and offer our service awards as well as opening it up. And Kevin, you did a very nice job talking about the board and the role and my role and outlining that. But we did some housekeeping too. We have a new platform that we're using for absence requests. So Ms. Hungerford, Meg was not here to be able to do that, but it's rolled out. There was an email put out. Hopefully that'll make it easier for tracking and usage and supervisor approval. And also we talked about our distraction-free learning environment. So our cell phone policy, talked about what that, so the whole staff, everybody, whether you're in the lunch line or you're working on the bus or in the hallway, or the staff, the faculty, about what our expectations are for that and how we're going to address that. And some of the research that I shared at the forum. So that was a good suggestion to bring that in. So that was wonderful too, just to get a little of that out there so we're all on board and we all know that. In addition to that, we spent some time on Portrait of a Graduate. And as mentioned, I try to get up everybody engaging, interacting with each other, because my big picture is about relationships and making sure that we build those and we build strong, trusting relationships. In addition to that, I kind of gave you some examples. We did an activity that allowed for everybody to do a scavenger hunt about each other. So that was on the orange paper. I just figured I'd share that with you. Had a lot of fun, found out who else has been skydiving, who got married. I did a little Facebook trolling to get some ideas. But who does beekeeping, all these little great things that I knew some of your staff already did. And it was incredible to find out how many other people do that and things that we share in common and that are exciting. Corey and I skydived, rocking that. So both adrenaline junkies apparently. But also in addition to that, on the backside is a survey. There was a link, so I have a digital version of that people could actually attend to with their agenda, or a hard copy if people felt. So I'm asking you, I still intend to meet with each of you to get some feedback of goals. But I would like, if you feel comfortable, to either do the agenda link or fill out a hard copy, just to get some insight about where you think too. You are just as much, obviously, just as important, setting our board priorities and goals. It'd be nice to know what your think are the strengths, the things we want to keep, and some deltas, some changes, and any other information you want me to know, if you're interested in that. The other thing that I did is we did Portrait of a Graduate. So we talked about the 6 components and how cultural responsiveness was the one edit that New York State did, where they encompassed that, being a culturally responsive student when you graduate, and then all the other components. And they are listed there. So it's all 6, the academic all the way to the future focused. And we had everybody break multiple ways in line, groups, did some mixes and matches, and worked to get stakeholder data. So I just want to say, we were putting some data together because I've got some great feedback. And people worked in groups and in 4 each, then shared and mixed and matched on what they see each of these components looking like here at Walton. And I already started going through these, and it's incredible with some of the things we already have in place and where we want to go. Some really good input. So getting some of that put together, again, that's going to be part of some of our strategic planning as well as we move forward. And also looking at mission, vision, and where our core values are. We did talk about them. You had brought them up. We dug a little bit deeper into them. If we are looking at revising, looking at deleting or adding anything, we still need to know what we're doing this year if we're going to start working on it, and where our base is and where our foundation is. So that was great, and I want to do a big shout out to all the bargaining units and admin and board, because we had a great raffle that went off and door prizes and stuff, so it was great. But again, I can't say enough, it was lovely to be here at Walton, and the energy that was there, I was feeding off the crowd, so it was great. So, That would be my remarks. It was a great day. So, if anybody has any questions about it, though, you're all welcome to the next year to do it too with us. So,
Yeah, I participated in the first 3 hours of it, I guess, and
you
it was
suffered with us.
very high energy, and it was great, to go through the scavenger hunt and just interact with a lot of the
She said
staff.
stand up and
And
talk to somebody, I found my way out.
yeah,
I was like, where did he go? He was
But-
just right there.
no, it was a great
I had to get back
opportunity
early. Delivery.
to interact, and I think the raffles, it seemed like were a
that
big
nice?
hit, and just there was a lot of energy related to
Gonna
that,
give-
so it was really good.
I always do like little giveaways, but I have to say the idea came from WTA, so that was wonderful. And you guys spent a lot of time putting that together and had things. It was just nice to show like the camaraderie,
Yep.
and like you said, it was wonderful to engage and getting people who maybe didn't talk. And the feedback, I gotta tell you, I'm just on a high right now from that because I have gotten so many really good positive feedback. Verbally, people came in. And it's not just about me, it was the energy for everyone that I was excited about. People who maybe didn't feel as comfortable sharing and engaging with each other, we just loosened up all morning, that was the goal. So people felt comfortable to work in groups and share their ideas. Every person has a voice, every stakeholder, we're all in it together, Three Musketeers. And that is my last comment, is you all get a goodie bag as well as every staff member. So I bribe you with candy and things. But there's a Band-Aid in there, there's all sorts of very useful tools to survive this year, but it's my wishes for you. So, there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. All right. We do have the need for executive session tonight to discuss matters relating to the future employment of particular persons.
I make that motion.
Motion by Graydon, second by Jake. All those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. And then we're not anticipating that we're going to take any action, so we'll be returning and adjourning. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Seconded.
Motion by Jake, second by Graydon. All those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries.